Gregory, I need to talk to you about something that's really been eating at me all week.
Okay, lay it on me.
Yeah. We're watching celebrities have public mental health crises in real time, but instead of us asking what this tells us about everyone else's mental wellness, what we're debating is whether or not they're faking it, whether or not it's an authentic mental breakdown.
So I assume that you're talking about Lil Nas X here.
Yes. He was found walking down Ventura Boulevard at 4 a.m. wearing only underwear and cowboy boots. He was charged with 4 felonies for allegedly assaulting police officers. Now here's someone with wealth, with presumably private health care access and resources most people can only dream of. And he still ended up having a breakdown in public and getting criminalized instead of treated. That he has in common with the rest of us.
Yes, he does. And so what you're saying here, if I'm understanding and hearing you correctly, is that even with money and access, he still fell through the cracks, which if someone like that does, then what does that mean for everyone else?
It's not good. His father, bless his father, told the Times about the pressures his son was dealing with being a breadwinner at the age of 26, watching his own mother battle addiction, the music business being, quote, like a drug. But think about this. If a wealthy celebrity with every possible advantage still breaks down, this publicly no less, what does that tell us about the system everyone else has to navigate?
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So, you know, it's not just about fame here. It's really like a warning sign, right? I mean, if the system's failing the most resourced rather, it's got to mean that it's already collapsing for everyone else.
Yeah. And I think what we're witnessing here is a systematic mental health collapse where even privilege now can't protect you. And here's the thing. While we're watching celebrities with resources break down publicly, the infrastructure, the very infrastructure that could help everyone else before they reach crisis, is being systematically, with intention, dismantled.
Wow, I mean, that's mind-blowing. You know, when you talk about that, I assume that you're talking about like public clinics that are closing down, or the lack of preventative care that's taking place now, right?
And now this Robert F. Kennedy Jr. person is targeting antidepressants, suggesting they contribute to violence. Meanwhile, the Trump administration just revoked $11.4 billion with a B dollars in funding for addiction treatment and mental health programs.
That's crazy.
So if someone with Lil Nas X's resources still ends up walking the streets in crises, can you imagine what's happening to the millions of people who can't afford the luxury item that is private health care?
I can't. I mean, essentially what you're saying is that Lil Nas X, like, he's the canary in the coal mine.
Exactly. And when even wealthy celebrities with private health care access end up criminalized instead of treated, it shows you how impossible this system is for us regular people. And they're making it worse by design. They fired the entire 16-person team of scientists who've been studying drug use and mental health for decades.
So Darrious, there's a lot to kind of unpack in what you just said, right? I mean, the smallest headline there of like the pop culture zeitgeist is that you have Lil Nas X and people questioning, is this publicity stunt or is this an actual crisis and breakdown? When we kind of zoom out and we kind of look at America in general, I think that we can kind of see that there's some parallels to draw from those of us who are normal or under resource that should probably cause some concern. So I want to start kind of unpacking, not with the fame of it all, but with the policy of it all. And let's kind of start with RFK Jr.
The worm man, let's start there.
Right, the worm brain. I mean, you know, he is in charge of health for America, and he is supposed to make America healthy again.
Greg, just stop for a second. The man who talked about picking up roadkill, these are just facts, not opinion, who said he had a worm in his brain and the worm died there. The man who has incredibly interesting views on autism, and the man who believes that vaccines cause more harm than good, is leading this country's, in real time, not a movie, not the Hunger Games, but in real time, is leading how we're addressing healthcare in this country.
Correct, but you forgot to add like one more to his basket. It's also this man who does not believe in the science of antidepressants or SSRIs, right? So during his confirmation hearing, there were people who had questioned him and grilled him about comments he had made about antidepressants not being effective and being more addictive than heroin, right? You had the medical community like disavowing him and being like, that's not correct because he's not a doctor.
Right, that part.
I mean, you could also pick up a
One,
medical
is not
journal.
correct, and two, he's not a doctor.
Right. But, you know, I mean, so before he was confirmed, there was even concern about him serving this role, right? And this ties specifically back to mental health in this country. There is enough literature that shows that antidepressants do way more good than they do harm,
Absolutely.
right? When you talk about mental health, it's something that cuts across all races, all classes.
It shouldn't be a
all
wedge issue.
societies.
It should be one that brings us together.
Together, right?
Okay.
Because I would say that there is not one person that's tuned in right now that does not have a loved one, if not themselves, that has not suffered from mental health, that has probably at some point or currently relies on antidepressants. And to try to strip that science and medical treatment away seems absurd from the highest office of America's health, in my opinion.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's, much like the president, made a promise, and we say he couldn't possibly mean it, but he's went, no, hold my beer, or my bear, some roadkill.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. He pledged.
He said, oh, whale.
Oh, wait. Oopsie. He pledged to address what he sees as an overuse of medications to treat depression. SSRI use among people 12 to 17, I'm looking at the stats, rose 43% from 2016 to 2022. Remember what happened during that period. Instead of asking why more people, more young people specifically, needed mental health supports, his response was to criminalize and make them feel bad, stigmatize the issue.
Was this where he was talking about sending people to wellness camps?
Yes.
Okay, so for viewers who aren't familiar with this, it is perhaps one of the most insane things that happened. So when he was running for the presidential nominee spot, if everyone remembers that quick blip,
Painfully.
He got caught in, well, I guess you don't get caught if you're on a Zoom presenting to a group, but it got recorded and was reported out by Mother Jones, I believe is who broke it, about he essentially wants to take people who have mental health issues or who are experiencing these episodes and take them and put them in what he calls wellness camps, which should just, I think, be...
This should ring many an alarm for people.
Right.
Go on. Okay.
Wellness allow them to be there however long that they need to be there, 3 or 4 years, but just so that they won't take antidepressants or SSRIs. And I think we have a clip of that that we can show people as well.
And I'm going to create these wellness farms where they can go to get off of illegal drugs, off of opiates, but also legal drugs, off of psychiatric drugs if they want to.
Yeah, so you heard it from his mouth directly then.
Okay.
So I'll allow you and I'll allow the viewers to soak that in and make up their own mind.
So I want to just make sure, while he is looking to hide away the problem, ignore the problem, put the problem out of sight, so perhaps it would be out of mind. And this is after we have fired Jennifer Honig, who led the National Survey on Drug Use and Health for years. That survey was tracking about 70,000 people annually. It was our most comprehensive data on who needs help and where they live. So do we believe that sending people off to camps and ignoring information and not talking about it, is that our national approach to mental wellness, healthcare?
I mean, I would say that they're doubling down on it, right? I mean, and the reason I say that is that they're cutting $11.4 billion out of the system that the government provides. And they're doing this under the guise of COVID's over, it's expired, we don't need to spend this money, right? So clearly we don't care.
So it was COVID's fault.
Well, I mean, COVID's no longer a thing,
Okay.
so why are we still spending money? Is their mentality of it, to all these things, which is also funny because you really love to have like your cake and eat it too, because you're constantly beating the drum about how damaging all those kids being kept from going to school was during COVID, or wearing mask mandates and all that, right? So you're talking about all of that mental health drain and damage that was taking place at that time.
Trauma.
But now when it's time to treat it, we suddenly don't have money for it.
Isn't that something? The behavior we see modeled. I think about history and how all this comes to play again. I think about horror stories of young boys and girls being sent to another type of camp where they are going to pray the gay away, which continues to be, we will ignore, we won't look at science or information, we simply will not, we won't accept it no matter how clear the facts are in front of us. And in order to help us after we hide you or send you to go, we don't know how, but just go change. Then we make you feel ashamed.
Yep.
So maybe you will make the choice to not have mental illness, as if it is a choice that is yours to have. And if you have it, it is challenging enough, but now we make you feel
Like othered and
damaged,
isolated, yeah.
defective, isolated, othered, which right now as we have this conversation, I remember, I'm going to try not to get emotional, that young man, and that's what he is, he's 26, carrying the breadwinner for his family, fame, good, bad, or otherwise, you can judge, say what you want, but the facts are he had this fame, this gargantuan hit, and everything that came with it. A mother who his relationship was fractured with. So we can assume he's carrying, as so many of us are, trauma. And this young man had the most public breakdown. And the first thing he said, one of the first things he said to his father was to give them my apology.
right, as if he owes us an apology.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that what you're getting at is that like people need to like humanize and give space and create a safe space for people when they either go through an episode, like a a breakdown of some sort, when they're in crisis, or when you might see the signs there, because some people also aren't also able to verbally tell you what they need. And there are signs that you can, like subtle things you can pick up on, right?
But if we're being conditioned to ignore everything, you're not going to. So this is what's heartbreaking, and I don't know what the answer is, but I do know part of what our conversation is really to show how this pettiness really impacts us in the most profound ways. We're talking about, good heavens, school shootings, things that, just massive destruction. And what tends to be more than not, I'm noticing the underpinning, day 2 of the story, this person had a chronic mental health issue that was either unaddressed or underaddressed.
Yeah.
And then if anybody has an answer, I would love to hear it. How did Robert RFK Jr. get into this role? That may be
not by the
rhetorical.
science, I can tell you that.
Right.
And I think that having him just dragged last week before Senate panel really put that on demonstration for everyone to see if they had not yet seen it or heard him before putting him in this position. But what I think is kind of scary about all of this is that, again, we go back to Lil Nas X having access to fame, wealth, we presume healthcare. Even with all of that and having a public breakdown, he is being criminalized. If it's criminalized for someone that is famous, there's not a question that it's not going to be criminalized and taken to the worst aspects that we've kind of seen time and time again. in America, which is, we don't treat the problem, but we're really good at creating these solutions for making money and through maximizing profits out of human pain.
And we're also really good, 400 years of history tells us this, of that ugly cocktail of ignorance, arrogance, and shame all working together. Ignorance is, I've never dealt with it, so it does not exist if I cannot see it with my own eyes. And I don't see it with my own eyes because I refuse to, because it's around. The arrogance is, you're weak, and we don't do weak. We push it to the side, we push it away. It makes us uncomfortable talking about that because it may suggest that we, under all this trauma, could have mental wellness issues, and if we do, we're not going to acknowledge them. And then the shame of, we don't want to look at what we've done. So it's this ugly cocktail, and I think about one end of the spectrum, Lil Nas, and I think at the other end of the spectrum, students in a percentage larger than is bearable of young folks in our public schools. Where are they going to be in 5 or 6 years or whatever without the supports in place? And when they're feeling things, it's being stigmatized and criminalized. It breaks my heart, but there has to be some acknowledgement of the damage we're allowing those we put into office.
They have an excuse for everything. Like, we have no problem cutting safety nets. We have no problem defunding science, defunding resources and programs, and taking all that money that we've saved to shove it into a tax bill for the richest people is just beyond sick. And that is maybe the biggest mental health disaster that we have as a country, is that, what's good for me is not good for thee.
And here's where I can put it all together, and we're learning in ways, and this is going to be another one. This feels like another F around, you're finding out.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. Join me Mondays at 7 p.m. as I sit in conversation with incredible, dynamic, and complex Chicagoans who peel back the layers, living lessons, the joy, and the pain behind their confident smiles. Join the conversation Mondays at 7 p.m. on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19 and streaming on cantv.org and CAN-TV Plus app.
Okay, Darrious, so I'm thinking about what you were talking about with systematic policy attacks, right? But there's kind of something that I can't shake about all this.
Okay.
And it's this. Why does this feel so familiar to me? Like, I feel like we have definitely been through this exact playbook before.
Because we have seen this playbook before, Gregory. This is the exact same strategy they used during the crack epidemic in the 80s. Instead of treating addiction as a public health crisis, they criminalized it, marginalized the response, and blamed the individual moral failures while systematically defunding community-based treatment. So fast forward 40 years, and here we are doing it all over again with mental health. The playbook is identical. Create a moral panic about the treatments, eliminate funding for community solutions, criminalize the symptoms, then profit off the crisis you've helped create. But this time it's even more insidious because mental health affects everyone. During the crack epidemic, they could pretend it was just those people in those neighborhoods. Mental health, however, crosses every single demographic, every class, every community. So hey, divide us. You know what the real kicker is?
What is it?
The people making these policy decisions have the best freaking health care in the world. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump, every member of Congress, they have health care plans that cover every freaking thing. Unlimited therapy sessions, top psychiatrists, residential treatment facilities, experimental treatments. But they're cutting these very services for everyone else while keeping them. They keep them for themselves.
Right. So essentially, I would say that this is healthcare apartheid.
That part, exactly. And they're using the same fear-mongering tactics that's worked every time prior. Quote, these medications are dangerous. These people are violent. We need law and order. It's all designed to make the public support policies that in fact hurt them while protecting the people who are making those very policies.
Wow.
But here's what really is getting me. When celebrities like Lil Nas X break down publicly, instead of seeing it as evidence that even people with resources can't navigate this freaking broken system, we turn it into a spectacle. See, while we're all arguing about whether Lil Nas X's breakdown was real, they are quietly cutting $11.4 billion from treatment programs. And while we're debating celebrity mental health on social media, they're firing the scientists who track mental health data. The human drama captures our attention while the systemic destruction happens right behind the scenes. And you know what the cruelest part of all this is?
What is it?
They've convinced people that asking for help is a weakness.
Oh, you're so right.
That needing medication means you're broken. That having a mental health crisis means you're a failure. So when someone does break down publicly, half the country's response, we're conditioned. Why didn't they just get help while simultaneously supporting policies that make the very same help impossible to access?
Oof. I mean, I didn't detect any lies there, just all truths.
Yeah.
So Darrious, what happens when this strategy reaches, let's say, its logical conclusion then?
We are about to get exactly what we got with the crack epidemic.
Oof.
Mass incarceration of people who actually need medical treatment, destroy communities, and another generation of trauma that we're still dealing with today. Except now, it's mental health instead of addiction. And the scale is going to be massive because the crises we're talking about now affects everyone. They are creating a system where having a mental health emergency becomes a criminal matter instead of a medical one, where families go bankrupt trying to get treatment for their kids, where people die by suicide because they can't afford or access care, where communities are devastated by preventable tragedies because we eliminated the early intervention programs that could have helped.
And the people that are designing these policies, like, they're never going to experience its consequences, right?
Never. But they're going to watch the suffering behind their gated communities with their private health care, then write op-eds, because we love those.
We love those.
About how people just need to take more personal responsibility.
We also love that too.
We do. And then they'll blame individuals for not being resilient enough, while systematically destroying every institution that builds said resilience. It's not incompetence, Gregory. It's not ignorance. It's deliberate. It's class warfare disguised as health policy. And they're using our own compassion. There's a theme.
Yeah.
Using our own compassion against us by making us argue about whether or not the victims deserve help, instead of asking why the system itself is designed to create victims in the first place.
Wow.
For more than 40 years, CAN TV has been Chicago's voice, your voice. We've shared your stories, amplified your concerns, and celebrated your triumphs. Now we want to hear from you. What programs matter most? What issues should we cover? How can we better serve your community? Visit cantv.org/feedback today. CAN TV. Experience the power of community television.
All right. Pretty petty please time.
Yes.
Tell me RFK Jr. and his anti-mental health crew are finally getting the comeuppance they deserve from the mental health community. Tell me, Greg. Tell me.
Well, this is delicious, if I do say so myself. Okay, let's start with the professional humiliation first, right? You had 24 members of Congress that sent Kennedy a scathing bicameral letter demanding he rescind his statements about SSRIs being more addictive than heroin, which is insane. They basically called him a liar to his face, and
Love it.
It was an official government correspondence, so it's on record.
I love a public dragging. Okay, keep on. What else?
All right. We have Keith Humphreys, who is a Stanford psychiatric professor, who said that Kennedy's comparison of antidepressants to heroin shows these medications exist in different universes in terms of addiction risk, right? So the academic speak for this is that like this man is completely clueless and doesn't know anything about basic pharmacology.
And he's getting roasted by his own field.
Well, yeah, I mean, not really his field, right? I mean, Doctors for America,
My bad.
they represent 27,000 physicians.
Actual physicians.
Actual physicians, not lawyers.
Okay.
And they issued a statement about Kennedy's anti-medication stance as extremely dangerous. And they said that it threatens access to essential medications for millions of Americans, like we've been talking about. So his own medical colleagues are publicly calling him a threat to public health.
What about mental health organizations themselves?
Yeah, so there were 9 former CDC directors, right? And they published, and I know we were ragging on them, but they published a New York Times op-ed saying that Kennedy is endangering the health of Americans. And now, Darrious, these are people who served under both Republican and Democrat presidents.
Yeah.
So no politics at play here. They all agree that he's a disaster. And when you've lost bipartisan public health leadership, I mean, you've really screwed up.
So are there going to be, here's a question, beyond criticism, which I appreciate and it's important that there be public displays, but do you foresee any consequences beyond the op-eds, beyond the words, beyond the why are you here, you're so not bright criticisms?
So here's like the petty part, right? Kennedy had to cancel a key preventative health task force meeting because over 100 health organizations sent Congress a letter demanding lawmakers protect the panel from his political interference. He's basically so toxic that medical professionals are organizing to block him from even attending meetings, or you might say that like some are avoiding him like the plague that he is.
No, 2 things. 1, yay medical community, and 2, are you telling me that this man is becoming a pariah in his own department?
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of key CDC officials that quit recently in late August, right?
Yep.
And they quit over Kennedy's anti-science policies. Now, I would say that when the director of National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Disease resigns, specifically because of your interference, that's not just a policy disagreement. I would say that that's a professional rejection.
That's not subtle, that's not a nuance. Okay, what about the Kennedy family? They have to be embarrassed, right?
I mean, you know, his own cousin Carolyn Kennedy has said that he's unqualified in terms of experience and character. And she's
Nobody's
not
being
wrong.
subtle here.
No, nobody's
Okay.
being subtle. No. And then you had another cousin actually that completely supported her view. So, you know, when your famous political family is publicly disowning you, that's probably some serious personal consequences right there.
Okay, and the mental health community specifically, I just want to be clear, they're not jumping over for joy for him either.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is kind of the best part, and you know, as we're talking about mental health, over 18,000 physicians have signed letters that oppose his confirmation, right? Like we mentioned earlier. And mental health professionals are essentially like leading the charge here in this 18,000 number. So he went from being this environmental lawyer that people respected to being known as this guy who wants to strip mental health medication from nearly 32 million Americans.
So his reputation is completely destroyed in the medical community.
Correct.
Okay.
And the New Republic actually called his approach fascist anti-psychiatry,
Wow.
which is kind of an amazing term, right? And they pointed out that he's weaponizing legitimate critiques of mental health care, rather, to justify cutting all support. So even the people who agree that there are problems with psychiatry think that Kennedy's approach is just plain cruel and destructive.
Okay. And the beautiful irony is that someone who claims to care about health has made himself toxic to the entire healthcare community.
And Darrious, with that, I'd say stay petty, stay profound, and remember, therapy is cheaper than the consequences of your actions.
FAFO, people. FAFO.